You listen, if my parents lit an orphanage on fire on Christmas Eve, they wouldn't be as bad as your parents.
Yeah, jokes about the in-laws, they're a staple for shows like Everybody Loves Raymond, whether it's on TV or in the movies. It can be funny. But you know, now this is exactly it. We're heading into the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas. A lot of us have to spend time with our in-laws.
And some of those in-laws apparently burned down orphanages on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
I mean, what's that about?
And those are bad in-laws.
Relationship coach Matt Townsend here to help us get a game plan to win with the in-laws.
Yes.
Is a game plan a good idea?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
You know what we do? We go
I don't even want to know this,
to Chuck-a-Rama in another state. And it's the best plan we've ever had. Actually, I have the best in-laws on earth. So I got to just do a little shout out to the in-laws.
You got something brown on your nose right there. I don't know.
I honestly do. Now, here's why, though. Because my in-laws want our marriage to succeed more than they want to keep their power base. Make sense?
Yes.
So if you want to make the in-laws succeed, we're going to talk about a bunch of ideas. Now, the in-laws go two ways, though, right? So we have parents-in-law and we have kids-in-law.
Right.
Children-in-law, okay? So all of our suggestions today go either to parent or go to both. Parents-in-law and the kids-in-law, right?
And I think people at home are thinking like, oh, that's going to be applied to my parents-in-law or my children-in-law, but really they should be looking at themselves. These are rules to apply
That's
for
exactly right.
yourself.
And think about it. I think the best way to learn how to be an in-law is having in-laws.
Yeah.
And what I think is I don't think enough of us learn. We're not learning enough how to be a good in-law. Because eventually, we're all going to have our kids. They're going to have marriages. We're going to be in-laws. So let's turn out to be the best we can. First rule. Got it? Are you ready?
Yes.
What do you think it would be?
Maybe like know your boundaries or something like that.
Chuck-a-Rama.
Oh, yeah.
Find a good Chuck-a-Rama. Know your boundaries. And the boundaries should be in another state
He
than
saves you and I
Chuck-a-Rama.
don't.
Yeah.
I just
Isn't that
let you
weird?
go off the deep
Yeah,
end.
see how that goes. Dang it. Thank you. That was very... Know your boundaries. Here's the deal. Have you ever heard of the discussion of should your mother-in-law be there to see the delivery?
Yes.
It can be a big debate.
Yeah.
It's a huge debate.
I'm not saying yes, you should be. I said I know the discussion.
Would you, Brooklyn, want a future mother-in-law to be there for the big moment?
No.
How about a father-in-law?
Double no.
How about neither of them but a really good camera shot?
Triple no. Thanks a lot.
Okay, a two-shot. Baby and mommy. Okay, so here's the simple rule. Boundaries. We got to have set boundaries. And the problem with it is we all assume we know what the boundaries are, and the reality is boundaries have to be created and talked about and then kind of maintained. The boundaries go two ways. You got to make sure that you understand your kids are kids now. Let them and their new marriage go on their way. You shouldn't be walking in their house. You shouldn't be, assuming you can go to the deliveries. I have a client whose mother-in-law wants to go to the OBGYN visits.
Oh.
No.
Yeah.
Well,
they're a very
cozy,
close
happy
family.
families, I guess.
So set up some boundaries, set up some rules early, and then the neatest thing about my in-laws is they try to just give us space. They would love to be involved more, but they kind of let us invite them into the circle
Here's a question,
instead of
though.
assume.
You talk about setting those boundaries. Great tip. Good to set up. And I heard you say the word communicate those boundaries.
You have
That
to
can be a
communicate.
tough conversation to have on either end. How do you bring up the boundary of, for example, the birth?
No, that actually gets to our next point. So please don't rush me. I'm setting a boundary.
We're trying to hear.
The next point, though, is you have to treat these people, not just as functions, if that makes sense. So your mother-in-law is not just a babysitter. Your mother-in-law is a woman, a mother who cares about her son, who has a history with this son, and the reality of how we set our boundaries and how we communicate is what are our roles, what are our goals, and I think part of the boundaries need to be we're going to be there no matter what for you, and we may not always have you babysit. Or we're going to be there no matter what for you, and we may not always want you to come to every holiday with us. How do you say it? There's no easy way to say it except for the third rule we're teaching, which is you got to know who number one is. This is going to get a little edgy because number one, when we get married, is our spouse. Always. Parents.
Dun, dun,
Always. Because,
Look at the eyes.
you see that?
I'm scared.
You know why? Everybody needs to gather around these couples to make it work. There's a reason 50% of the marriages are ending in divorce, and a lot of them have in-law issues because we start taking sides. Our number one goal as a parent-in-law is to make sure that this marriage succeeds.
And you're pointing at us as if we're married, but just so people know.
did they not know?
Yeah, we're actually not.
They're just engaged.
Just coworkers. Stop.
Just kidding. So the whole idea is we've got to make sure as parents that our number one purpose is to make sure that this marriage lasts. There's a reason why couples, married couples, have a different relationship than just dating couples. because we're all now involved. We've all made these commitments. We're now having children. We're now making legal obligations to each other. So as in-laws, I need to make sure that my kids have their space to grow, and that I understand that their relationship is now number one.
That's a powerful point, and even more so a powerful perspective, because I would imagine and hope there aren't many in-laws out there that would say, I want my child's marriage to fail.
That's exactly right.
So if you keep that perspective and know that that focus should be first.
Now, that's the hard one, because that means mom and dad, you have to become second. You become second.
And you have to step back literally. You have to physically move back.
That is your new role. And you're doing that not to lose your power. And that's scary, because for years you've always been number one in this kid's life. You now need to take place of number two so that you can have 10 other people in the family. So we can have kids and grandkids and future generations. That we're going to make room by us stepping out, allowing a spouse to step in. And then I see in-laws, the role of an in-law is support. We're going to build structure and scaffolding for you two to succeed. That's our role. Now, the other thing is, though, if you're the daughter-in-law or the son-in-law, is enable your parents to help. Go learn. Number one thing I've had with my in-laws is I learn from them. They have been a very successful marriage. I grew up with parents that divorced, so I didn't have great role models for what a marriage should look like, so I used my in-laws as my role model. And we'd ask them, what should we do here? And they'd come in when they needed it, but they'd never come in until we invited them in. So make sure you're inviting people in, and parents set good role models.
Okay, Matt's got 4 great C's.
Yes.
4, we've got to remember the C's here that's going to help you out.
These are like the cancers, okay? I call them the cancers. Number one, you don't compare. You can't compare. The minute you start comparing, you're dead, because remember, one of you's a lover and one of you's a mother. It's not going to be a good comparison, okay? Number 2, do not compete. You can't compete. Think about it. Are you really going to compete with your kids' grandparents? How's that ever going to win? Yeah. Or are you going to compete with your grandkids' parents? You're never going to win in a competition. So do not compare, do not compete, do not complain. Nobody wants to hear only the negative things about somebody else. So you can't just sit there and complain about your in-laws, no matter how irritating they might be. And you can't critique. Here's why. The minute you're critiquing your husband's parents, you're critiquing him. There's no way to talk bad about them without him starting to feel impacted by it.
Because they feel part of that.
That's it. They are, I am them. I'm from their genes. I'm from their loins. So don't badmouth my mother.
Did he just say that?
I said loins on KSL. Isn't that great?
Really good advice.
How many people have ever used the word loins on KSL?
I think you're the first.
Yes, the first.
We're here to make a difference.
You have a lot of firsts for us.
Isn't that weird?
We are blazing new trails here. We do want to let you know Matt's got another date night coming up. It's just around the corner.
And those are great. Bring your in-laws, honestly.
No.
It's a great way to fix your in-laws. But you bring family, you bring friends, you get your neighborhood together, you come hang out with us at Noah's. It's Saturday, November 14th, 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and about $20 a couple, but you have tons of fun. And just so you know, Priming the Pump, we have a book coming out in December.
We're very excited about this.
It's going to be huge. Huge
Does it
stuff.
involve loins in the title?
Loin is not even in the book.
Oh.
That's disgusting.
Wow. Okay.
More details on that to come. Matt, really good advice. Thanks so much. We'll be right back.